There's a storm across the valley. The clouds are rolling in. The afternoon is heavy on your shoulders. There's a truck out on the 4-lane, a mile or more away. The whining of his wheels just makes it colder.
Welcome to Community Forum. My name is Priscilla Almquist-Olsen, and as you can see, I got my ashes today. Today is Ash Wednesday, February 22nd, 2023. And it gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce to you your Executive Director and Head of the Department of Health and Community Services, Kristin Kennedy. Kristin, welcome.
Thank you very much, Priscilla.
And tell me a little bit about your background. I know that you've done wonderful things since you've been serving the citizens of Easton. But I want to find out what were you before you became interested in Department of Health?
So actually, I've been with the town for 26 years now. I arrived here in 1996, and I, at that time, was a part-time health inspector. I came from the town of Brewster, and prior to that, I had been with the town of Westboro. I'm originally from the Worcester area. My parents met in first grade at the little school up the street, at the end of the street, and my sister and I also attended that school. So from Westboro to the Cape and then up here, took this position at the time because it was part-time, and my husband and I had just decided we were going to start trying to build a family. So this kind of fit perfectly into our plans. And from there, I have pretty much evolved with the town and with the town's needs over the years. As my children got older, I was able to work on a couple of different projects that brought some incredible resources, in my opinion, to the town. One being a program where we were able to start in billing insurance for flu vaccine. And we did this in a format where we didn't charge, and if whatever we recovered, for better or for worse, we never passed any costs along, but it allowed us to purchase vaccine. This was happening at a time when the state was cutting back and pulling back on the amount of state-supplied flu vaccine that they were allotting to each community. So we were in a position where we couldn't offer for the adults unless we moved to this model, and very successfully have kept that rolling since just about 2009.
Okay, and then what happened?
And then after that, we added another program. With me being able to add extra hours with the support of the town administration, we were able to bring in the town's Betterment Loan Program, which to date, I believe we're just coming up on $4.5 million that is out in the community. These are very low interest, 4% loans that are offered to any homeowner with a failed septic system. And it basically goes on their tax bill and is spread out over 20 years. Great asset for a lot of families. I mean, where do you come up with $30,000, $40,000 or $50,000 to replace your septic system? And at the time when we unveiled that program, a lot of people were, upside down in their houses. Our first round of funding was in 2012. These programs, I think, got my potential noticed by some of the town administration, and in the coming years, discussion began about taking a model that was being used in other places that took health, recreation, council on aging, and veteran services, and basically looked at their mission statements and what they were each trying to accomplish, and put them together under one administrator, and that became me, whose purpose is to facilitate networking, facilitating job sharing, facilitating sharing of resources, and just always being guided by the mission that, and what we've really adapted and adopted is the mission statement from the World Health Organization that basically abides by the fact that health is not merely the absence of illness and infirmary, it is actually the presence of everything else. It's the psychological well-being, it's the food security, it is happiness in general, as well as having opportunities to be physically healthy, along with that huge mental health component that I think we all now, especially in the post-COVID era, see as being so important.
Wow, that is a comprehensive response to the question. But I know that it is a complicated, complex department that you run. So you, in a sense, have many, many hats that you have to put on, sometimes very quickly. For example, we had a very tragic incident recently, and you needed to bring mental health services to the family and also to the police officers who were present at that incident, that event. So tell me, how does you have to scramble sometimes?
You do. A big part of, as I mentioned, my job is networking and knowing who you can go to, who may have the resources, and being able to have those bridges that you can cross over and ask for help. I, fortunately, as that situation was unfolding, happened to be meeting with our partners over at Stonehill College regarding the latest addition to our department, which is the position of Community Mental Health Liaison. And anticipating her arrival onto our staff, I was out in the community looking for stakeholders, for allies, and in a matter of conversation, they told me that as far as crisis counseling went, that there was this great organization, Riverside, and gave me a contact person there. And when I got back to my office and was tasked with, can we do this? Can we bring this to the community? We were able to pull it together within 3 or 4 hours. So sometimes it's just being in the right place or having the right person that you know that you can call.
Right. And so you do have many, many resources and people to call. Over 26 years, you have built up a wonderful contact list, I'm sure.
Yep, I have. I'm definitely entrenched in the community.
And tell me, what is the most challenging part of your job?
Oh.
Well, maybe there are many challenging parts.
There are
maybe there
very
isn't
many
just
challenging
one.
parts. But again, it's. I think that's part of why I'm in love with the job, is the challenges and the fact that no 2 days are different. I used to say that solely, when I was wearing just the health hat, that no 2 days were the same, no 2 restaurant inspections, no 2 complaints, no 2 septic systems were ever the same, nor were the people that you were interacting with. And this umbrella just expands out from there. And being able to create those liaison positions, we're very fortunate. As I said, we've just recently added, as recently as last week, a community mental health liaison, and we're in the process right now of building out some of the programming that she will be picking up and running with. But it's been a year of collaboration between the police chief, the fire chief, the town administrator, staff, and figuring out needs. Yesterday we met with the superintendent for the Easton Public Schools as well as their team. In the coming weeks we'll be meeting with Southeast Regional's team to kind of carve out those new and emerging roles that we need. In the middle of the pandemic, we added a mobile integrated health program with the fire department. So we currently have at Frolingham Hall, in addition to a licensed mental health counselor whose responsibilities we're building out, we also have one of our Easton paramedics who also just happens to be a nurse as well, serving in a mental health capacity, a public health capacity, and assisting us with a lot of our programming that we're doing over there. This partnership allowed us to bring back things as simple as blood pressure clinics, which we had lost when our contract with the VNA wasn't renewed. we've been able to add educational classes that fit into both wheelhouses. Through a partnership with Children's Hospital, we have been able to offer car seat classes as well as bike helmet classes. Traumatic head injuries are huge, and kind of dial into that whole public health and equity piece where people don't have resources. Children's comes out, does the classes, it gives away free car seats for us, gives away bike helmets for us, and our community members, our firefighters who are trained in installing those car seats, have an opportunity to interact with our families on a very positive basis, not at the scene of an accident. They're actually involved in preventative care. And that's what we're really striving to do, is be able to provide some preventative, proactive, wraparound services to the community.
So when a student has a concussion on the football field, the superintendent of schools and all her staff know that there are resources that the town can provide that student.
Yeah, there are a lot of resources through the athletic trainer as well, would be the primary on that. We're very fortunate we have an athletic trainer. We have a actual trainer, which is a special certification associated with the high school and with the sports programs as well. But yes, we're here. Just pick up the phone and call us, and we will try to find a resource somewhere for just about anything.
So, and that goes to all the people today who are listening and viewing this interview. So if you have a question, or you have a need, or you know somebody else who has a need, especially senior citizens and those who might live alone and really don't think that there are services available for them, give a call. Find out what is available to meet the needs of your needs, or a neighbor or a friend. And Kristin is very easy to reach because her phone number is...
I'm at Town Hall most of the time, so through the Health Department at 508-230-0620.
Okay, the last part?
0620.
0620. So who is 0630?
I don't know, but I do know who is 0690. That would be the main line at Frothingham Hall.
Yes, right.
And at Frothingham Hall, that's where a lot of our community resources are housed. So that's where, under the leadership of our two deputy directors, Corey Honan, who is the Deputy Director of Financial and Veteran Services, and Joe Pitti, who is our Deputy Director of Community Engagement and Programming. They are both the leads over there in my absence. But that's where we run our transportation program out of. That's where, as the previously mentioned, mental health liaison is, as well as the mobile integrated health, public health firefighter. And that's where a lot of our programming takes place. That's where the car seat classes are. That's where the bike helmet classes are. That's where there are fitness programs being run every day, art programs, a number of different ways for the community to engage.
And don't forget Swedish weaving.
Swedish weaving, Thursday afternoons.
Thursdays, 12:30 to 2:30.
Swedish
I was
weaving, Thursday
part of that
afternoons.
class, yeah. But there are so many wonderful different classes I now see, in addition to yoga and just general, even chair exercises. I mean, who can resist that? But there's Pilates, and Pilates is so important to build up the core, especially the pelvic floor. As we get older, we need that little strength. Anyway,
there's a Drums Alive class that's been added. Ballroom dancing is starting back up. We had a very successful late afternoon, like 3 to 4 ballroom dancing, and now we're going to be repeating it. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it's a 5 to 6 p.m. class. No partners necessary. And I have to tell you, I have seen so many smiles coming out of that room at the conclusion of that class.
So it's a mental health issue, but it's also a physical issue, because if you're dancing, you're burning calories, but you're having fun, and so you're happy.
Yeah, I encourage everybody to try out Drums Alive if you can get into that class, because...
Is that Joanne Sheehan?
I'm not exactly sure who the
instructor
instructor is. I just happened to walk through it the other day, and they were beating on big Pilates balls with drumsticks and having a grand old time.
Yeah. So, and how do we get into, how does the public know about what's available. There's got to be a website they can go to see. I know that there's a series of pages. What do they call that?
So we have a number
newsletter.
We do have a print newsletter called The Coordinator.
The Coordinator,
that
right.
is a little bit more senior-centric. That's put out through a grant from the Executive Office of Elder Affairs in conjunction with a printing company that basically prints it for free for us, but they sell ads. So there's local vendors that are in it as well. We have a very, very good website. It has just been rebuilt by the 2 deputy directors and myself to be we think a little bit more able to navigate as far as what you're looking for. So if you were to go on the town webpage and you were to go under departments, you'll see under the first grouping of ABC, community, you see our department. And one of the first tabs is community engagement and programming. And once you're on that page, over on the left-hand side, we are working on and are using now a full electronic brochure that covers everything, that isn't just the senior activities.
Oh, good.
Where you would find toddler music. It's where you would find the adult ballroom dancing. It's where you'll find information in the coming months on the town pool. Also, that newsletter goes out. Anybody who's interested in receiving it either in their print form or in the email format can go ahead and call Frothingham, 508-230-0690, and hit the prompt for community engagement and programming, and we'll get you on either the email list or the physical mailing list. It's also available, so our department does support a number of boards and committees. Obviously, we support the Board of Health, the elected 3-member board. We support the Council on Aging. That's a 7-member appointed board. And we support the Recreation Commission, which is another 7-member appointed board. These boards all meet monthly and give input and kind of lead some of our activities. We also, by their mission statement, support the Age-Friendly Advisory Committee. And for anyone who isn't familiar with that, AARP has a program where you can self-declare that you would like to become more inclusive and age-friendly, and then there is a process that you must go through. It involves surveying, it involves community input, with the end result being a proposed action plan of things that you've identified as a municipality in your community that the community itself feels are the most important pillars and pieces that they would like improvements in or that are essential to aging in place. The town completed that process and the select board approved the action plan, which was then sent into AARP. AARP accepted it and approved it, and now we're in the phase where we are trying to work out implementation, which is very exciting. So that group meets as well every once a month. Each of these boards and committees has a webpage of their own under the boards and committees tab on the town website. Getting to the Council on Aging newsletter, you would go to the Council on Aging and the newsletter is right there.
Also, the newsletter is available in a myriad of places. I mean, at least 15 places. I mean, if you go to your bank, you'll find them there. Go to the supermarkets, and you're likely to find them. But if you go to the website, there's a whole list of places, I believe, where you can pick one up, so you can look at it physically. But
or you can just come to Frothingham and check us out, and there are plenty of them there.
Right.
There's a publication also that's put out by our veterans, by Corey, our veterans, who wears the veterans hat. He started it when he was the Veteran Service Officer, prior to him being promoted to Deputy Director. So there's a separate publication called The Reveille, which deals with a lot of veteran issues, highlights some of our local veterans, and if anyone's interested in getting on that mailing list, same thing. I would just contact the hall or come in and grab a copy of it and get added onto the list.
Yeah, and to those veterans, it's amazing how many services are available. It's not just financial help, it's also medical help. We have the VA hospital just next door in Brockton, very handy to use, and but there are lots of programs that I think many veterans are unaware of. I know a relative of mine finally got in touch with Corey after I hammered away a little, and now he's very happy and pleased, and he's getting medical help and some financial help. But basically, the medical services that the VA offers are enormous. I mean, it's and Corey is there to help. He's done a fabulous job, and he's very dedicated and devoted, and he follows through. He's young and determined to help. And that's what you want for your staff, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, he is a decorated member of the services himself. He brings an awful lot to the table when he's speaking with our veterans.
Now, one of the things that I notice when I pop in, because occasionally I go in to get the free bread or cakes and pies that come on Tuesdays and Thursdays of every week for seniors, and I tend to pick things up from some of my neighbors who just don't get out to do it. And I always seem to get there when there's a class in the big room where I used to play junior varsity basketball. Used to be a basketball court there, that huge big room at Frothingham. And there's so many people. I mean, they've got to be 30, 35 people, mainly women, I must say, but they're all doing all of these exercises and having fun and really enjoying it. Nothing very difficult, but certainly something that really needs to happen to most of us as we get older. So that's one of the, hopefully I'll have some time to join one of those classes because they looked really wonderful. And so you're always looking, Kristin, I'm sure, ways to improve and add or complement different programs that you have. So do you have any future ideas at the moment?
So our newest, well, I shouldn't say newest member because we've added the mental health liaison, but Joe Pitti, our Deputy Director of Community Engagement and Programming, took over a very successful program that had been built by Ann Daly when she retired. And he's been consistently adding to it. He has added a kind of a survey function and a satisfaction survey function to a lot of our programming, as well as opened up communication for ideas for more programming. We are getting requests for trips. We're trying to expand the transportation piece, and a lot of these tie to things that were identified in the AARP action plan. So there's a lot of information coming in, and there is always the desire to do more.
Well, let me just inform the viewers. Ann Daly was the Director of Recreation, but she also set up tours. People would go, say, to Newport, Rhode Island and visit some of the mansions down there and have a day. Of course, you'd pay a nominal fee. But it was a wonderful way to see something you hadn't seen and also enjoy socially the camaraderie of fellow residents. And obviously the mental health component there, Kristin, is important to you, I'm sure, in that regard. Joe Pitti is, I've met him, and hopefully he'll be coming on this program sometime soon. In fact, I think it would be fun if the two of you came together.
We can see if we can make that happen.
Okay.
We can see if we can make that happen. I know Joe has added, after COVID, we've been slow to add some of the things back. We lost some staff members. We're trying to build back up some of our ability to transport on some of these programs. But in the coming months, I do believe that Joe has arranged for smaller local trips down to the Patriots Hall of Fame over at Foxborough, and I believe he's got a trip coming up to SEMREC, our regional dispatch facility, which is quite the technological marvel to see if anybody is interested in that type of thing. So those will be in the coordinator, probably in the March coordinator, and I encourage everybody to check them out. They're going to be great little trips, and then we'll eventually build back up to some of the bigger Newport Mansion and theater and things like that. So.
And of course, there are always the blood pressure clinics and other things. So it's very important, seniors, to get that collaborator and check it out. And those of you who aren't seniors, but you have parents who are in residence of Easton, good idea to check out what's available for your parents or your grandparents, for that matter. What are your, you must have I know you had a long to-do list and you've fulfilled most of it.
I'm not even close yet.
But I know you're not done. So what are some of the ideas that are just stirring around in your pot of gold, shall we say?
You know, a lot of it is dictated by what's going on around us. As I said, this part of the thing that has driven me this far is that no 2 days are ever the same. The needs keep changing. I did not think in 2009 that I would be dealing with a pandemic and then be dealing with a worldwide pandemic in 2020. You know, I was here for H1N1 when we were dealing with a very different flu for the first time that was, you know, really causing morbidity in children, which was quite alarming. But we've got so many other things that are coming. We've got climate change. We've got mental health concerns that are coming out of the COVID years and out of all kinds of areas.
Yeah, and I'm sure that we're not ignorant of the fact that we have a addiction problem, we have a suicide problem, and what are the programs currently that meet those needs?
So are mostly, up until hiring on our own mental health liaison to help navigate, it's been providing, you know, veterans had certain services that Corey was aware of, and trying to get people resources. Now we're upping that game, and we're going to have a dedicated staff member who will have a better grasp because of, you know, her background and what she's bringing to the community of resources that are available. And keeping that resource list expanding and keeping abreast of what are the newest things, what are the newer formats, and communicating that out, getting that information out to people.
So you must have very direct dealings with the fire department, with the overdoses and the use of Narcan, for example. So you're really, in a way, you have your hands and your heart and your brains in a lot of different areas and departments. So it's the fire, it's the police, it's social services.
It's the building department when a tree falls on somebody's house. It's the building department. It's everybody when, you know, last year during one of the storms, we had a neighborhood that was completely cut off by a tree. And we were waiting for National Grid to come and say it was safe to move the tree and move the wires. And I'm fortunate in that my challenge is, well, what else can we do? Right? What else can we do? We can tell those people we're waiting on the grid, but what else can we do? So in that particular situation, a health inspector, along with our fire captain now, who is part of our mental health crew, went door to door. Do you have baby formula? Do you have diapers? Do you have medical needs that you didn't anticipate not being able to get to? And they went door to door to every one of those community members.
Wow.
And actually, the end of that story, I think it was the fire chief ended up on the phone with one of the, it was either a gas or a propane or oil company making arrangements for a delivery. So we all pick up the phone when we need to. There's nothing that is, you know, too small for any of us to put a hat on and try to do. We saw it during COVID. We all pitched in. My entire staff was calling people, booking appointments. You know, our town administrator, our assistant town administrator, we're at Frothingham Hall booking second appointments on laptops when we were doing our clinics. we're very fortunate to have a group that really works together.
And works well together.
Works well together.
And communicates.
Communicates and is always thinking, you know, we don't do things because we have to. We do things because they're the right thing to do. And we're allowed to operate in that realm, which is really unique.
Yeah, and I think going door to door is an example of that. That you're and those are the kinds of things I think that our viewers aren't aware of. So next time you see a need in your neighborhood, it's time to pick up the phone and give a call. And the phone number is?
I'm going to direct you over to, it depends, but either one, 508-230-0690 or 0620.
And that information will be at the end of this broadcast for all of you people to write down. So get your paper and pen ready. And any parting thoughts about the future and your vision for the future?
Just keep doing what we're doing. It's exciting. Every day is different, and look forward to getting this mental health liaison position up and running, being able to provide more resources, being able to provide that wraparound care and kind of hopefully get ahead of some of these things.
Well, Kristin, you have been at the forefront of creativity, reaching out, finding resources, which didn't exist before, and applying them to the needs of Easton residents. So we thank you so much for that creativity, and that's what keeps you going too. The fact that here's a problem, what's the solution, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm still here. I'm still here and still finding new things on my desk that and new challenges and new things to be excited about.
So you out there who are listening, if you have some needs, give Kristin another challenge, and she will deliver for sure.
We'll try.
Thank you, Kristin, for being my guest today on Community Forum. Thank you for watching. This is Priscilla Almquist-Olsen saying, be well.